Welcome to Coach on the Couch. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski, visiting today with Wausau East Lumberjacks boys basketball coach Dan Garrett. Coach, let's first put a bow on last year. You had 5 seniors on the team last year. Just talk about the impact and the joy it was to have those guys around.
Yeah, those seniors really set the table and set the stage for what's happening now. Isaac Roswadowski and Caden Worth were on the varsity as freshmen. They played for 4 years under me and really kind of helped set the foundation for where we are today. Those guys, the success that we had last year was 100% because those seniors were leaders and ready to step in and help us get to where we wanted to.
You had what I thought was a very successful season last year, a regional final championship, which hadn't happened around here in quite a while. As the season went on, we here at Zaleski Sports, we had you as a ranked team. People across state couldn't believe that. And they would call me. I said, no, guys, you got to watch these guys play. These guys are good. And the ranking, I think, showed out. And the regional final championship, what are one or two of the memories that you had as the coach of this team from a successful season a year ago?
Yeah, definitely the regional championship and watching those kids walk up the ladder and cut the net. That's something we practiced that week, so we practiced doing that, pretending we were going to cut the net and those types of things. So to actually have it, come to fruition was awesome. So that's a memory. And then, honestly, there was a loss that we had in early February. We had just, we almost beat Marshfield and then we went down, I think, the Madison Memorial, and we played well enough to win, but we didn't finish the game. And, it could have been a turning point for us, or we could have, been out of the first round of the playoffs, I thought, or we could have turned it into what we did. And I think we took that loss, and really turned that into, what you saw at the end of the season there.
Yeah, my favorite moment, I think it was at home against Stevens Point. You had a guy walking in the locker room with a bloody nose and broken nose, maybe it turned out, and all kinds of stuff. So it was a real fun group for us last year.
Forgot about that win. There were so many highlights, but they were awesome too. And we had beat them in 12 years, so that was awesome.
It was a big deal, and your team was a great follow last year. We think they're going to be again this year. As a matter of fact, we think so highly of your program, and on the girls' side, that you're now part of our basketball series called All Access, where people get behind the scenes, and we're looking forward to that. I know there'll be some filming all year round, and people enjoy those shows as well. So let's talk about this year then a little bit, and let's start with the returning seniors that you have this year and what that group is going to do.
Yeah, everybody knows Jaden, Jesse, and Charlie. They know those guys, and they know the type of players they are. So we're obviously really expecting those guys to lead us, whether it be at scoring or leadership off the court or, with their voices and things like that. But I think what people are going to be surprised with this year is that we have some guys that maybe didn't see a ton of time last year, or they maybe played some JV last year, that are really going to contribute this year, and they're ready to contribute, and they had a really good summer. So we're excited. I'm mostly excited for everybody to see those guys. I think what you're going to get from Jesse. What you're going to get from Jaden. What you're going to get from Charlie. Those guys have been around forever. It's going to be those other guys that I think that's going to surprise some people, and I'm excited for everybody to see it.
Tell us a little bit. You mentioned Jaden, so father, son, coach, and player. What that's like coaching. You got to kind of sometimes, I think, walk a fine line between that and. Because it can easily slip away. Guys can easily, claim things about the relationship. So tell us about that dynamic on your team.
I think, as a dad, I think we do it as a son and a father. I think we do a good job of separating it. When we're at school, he calls me coach, and when we're at home and we get in the car, it's dad. And I don't bring it. I don't bring it in the car when we're riding at home together. We talk. I talk to him as his dad. Hey, these are things that I see as your dad, not as your coach. So we kind of set that stage really early, in his life. So I think it's easy for us to have a relationship like that now, where we can separate it. When we're at home, and we're at school, we're working. So it's awesome to coach your son. I mean, some people can't do it. It's hard. It's not easy. But it's awesome, and to see him, kind of go through these moments and help and kind of be a part of those moments too, has been pretty awesome. And I'm trying to, as a senior, I'm trying to enjoy it a little bit more this year, maybe than I've enjoyed it in years past. I've kind of let it pass me by, and now this year I'm like, I really want to take in some of these moments. So I'm staying after practice a little bit late and helping shoot a little bit more and those types of things. So
let's talk about the Wisconsin Valley Conference just a bit. Third place finish from a year ago. That made you the top Division II team in your league. So tell us about that, what it's like kind of sometimes playing among the trees there and how those other teams get you ready for things like the postseason.
Playing in this conference is awesome. If you want to be prepared for the playoffs, because, I think every coach says this, there is no off night. In the Valley Conference, there really is no off night. Even the team that finishes last could beat the team that finishes first. I truly believe that in this conference, and that was last year, and I think this year even more so than last year. I think that it's going to be super competitive. You're going to see teams, from the bottom that may beat a team, up top once or whatever it might be, or at least compete really hard. You're not going to see a whole lot of blowouts, I think, in this conference. So, I think it prepares us for the playoffs. Not that we play lesser opponents, because we don't. We play, really solid opponents in the playoffs as well. But I think it helps us with the intensity that every night you have to bring every night in the Valley Conference.
Let's talk about some season goals in the conference. As we start here, we have Marshfield ranked as the #1 Division I team in the state. Stevens Point also in the top 15. How do you go about setting the goals for the conference, even maybe a conference championship?
Yeah, I think this year and last year, we said we want to try to win a conference championship. So that's our goal. Whether someone's ranked ahead of us or not is not our concern. We only control what we control. We can control how hard we play or how hard we don't play. So we're not necessarily worried about the other teams. We're worried about ourselves right now. And early in the year, we just want to get better. And then once we get into conference play, we know that's at a different level, and we'll take those games that way. But we're looking to compete for a conference title just like we did a year ago.
As the season progresses, things get thick and thin. What's the one thing? What's the hallmark of this team that when you need to go to it, this is what we're going to do?
Well, I think, obviously offensively, we have some guys offensively that we can go to in crunch time, like a Jesse or Jaden or Charlie inside. But I think this team is going to be a good defensive team. We focused a lot on it the last couple of years, and that helped us win some games last year. When we beat a Stevens Point, you got to stop those teams. When you're in games in Marshfield, you got to get stops, right? So I think we learned the value of that a year ago, and I think learning that the value of that a year ago is really going to help us this year. So that's really been a big focus, and I think what you're going to see is us getting stops when we need to get stops.
I'm going to ask you for another name, and I appreciate you've said some names already, because that's a danger zone for me and you. We say some names and we leave some out, and those are the ones that contact us to say, why don't you say my name? Who's maybe one guy that a lot of folks haven't heard of, but you think maybe has got some upside, some potential here this year that we're going to hear about?
Well, I'm going to name a couple guys, right? I know you said one, but I'll name a couple. But Teddy Schlenwine is a kid that, didn't play a ton for us last year. He got some spot minutes at varsity wise, but he's going to be a kid that I think is going to surprise some people. He's about 6'4", 6'5", very long. He can shoot the basketball. He can drive the basketball. He's a guy that's going to help us spread the floor. And then we got a junior coming in, Robbie Anguli. Anjuli. Robbie Anjuli is his name. Robbie's about 6'6", and he played JV for us last year. Didn't play a ton of varsity minutes, and a kid that works his tail off and is ready to contribute on the varsity level. So, the cool thing about I think what our starting lineup will look like is we don't have guys under 6 foot. Our lineup is 6 foot and up. So I think we're going to be able to compete with some of those teams, as you mentioned at the top, that are mentioned in preseason at the top. Because of that.
Coach, let's talk about, say the first 5 games of the year, roughly about 20% of the season is out of the way by that point. Regardless, you might be 5-0, you might be something else. How will folks, around your neighborhood and who are watching your team play know that things are going according to plan?
I think early in the year, because we're kind of getting some guys' feet wet. We may take a loss or two. We're not looking at hanging our hats on trying to start 7-0 or trying to start 5-0. We're trying to get better, and we're trying to compete. And I think we're going to be able to compete. I think when people are going to see us, they're going to say, hey, they're moving the ball in transition. They're scoring in transition. They're turning people over with their pressure. I think Wausau East is playing well right now. I think that's what they're going to say, at that point.
Talking to Wausau East Lumberjacks boys basketball coach Dan Garrett. We can wrap up with this. I'll leave you with the last word too if you want it. But last one for me, Coach, is just the community support, and it's such a big deal. The kids are the ones that are putting in the work, and you and the coaching staff. No doubt, but the people in the gym can have an impact. So let's remind those folks about coming out to support your basketball team this year.
Yeah, we're going to be excited to watch. I was stayed after practice a little bit with the guys today, and there was some alley-oop dunking going on and that type of stuff. And everybody that knows me knows I like to play fast. I like to score a lot of points. So we're going to be an exciting team to watch. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the guys you see outside of the three that you already know.
Coach Dan Garrett and his Wausau East Lumberjacks, best of luck this season.
I appreciate it.
Are you tired of being a boring old tree, bird, or mythical war hero? Find the right job for you at Express Employment. Stop today and discuss positions that fit your abilities and qualifications, leading you to the perfect job. Always local, always strategically selected to match your skill set with local employers. There's a perfect job out there. Let Express Employment professionals help you find it. In Wausau, Stevens Point, Medford, and Marshfield. Find jobs and apply online at expresspros.com.